I think we're staying the course on a fundamental basis. Obviously, what you've seen right now that's transpired has been geopolitics just overwhelming any of the benefit that you're seeing on fundamentals. This should have been the perfect opportunity for Russia, its stocks, where you look at Russia Inc. on a macro basis, current account, fiscal surplus, but more importantly, from a stock standpoint, you're looking at these companies that are trading low, mid-single digit Ps and generating 20% free cash flow yields. You're probably going to get back the market capitalization in dividends over the next 2 years. But obviously, all of it is right now sidetracked with the geopolitical tension issue that we're currently seeing.
Yeah.
Creates the opportunity for emerging markets and creates the opportunity where fundamentals will finally come through. But obviously, in all of this volatility, it definitely is getting lost on a day like today.
That's interesting what you said. You think the yield will compensate for some of the declines. I know you guys have, I think, about double the exposure to Russia as is typical for emerging markets, so certainly heavily invested there. Admiral, let me turn to you. As an investor, it is very hard risk for markets to price. What would your advice to investors be here? Do they just kind of ignore the situation unless it completely escalates, or do you have any guess what's about to happen?
I'd put it this way, 25% chance we see an all-out blitzkrieg by Vladimir Putin. He goes to Kiev, he changes the regime, the whole thing really dramatically upends European security, 25%. I think there's a 50% chance that he will conduct some kind of invasion, carve out a chunk. That one may settle back down, but even there, that's a 75% chance of massive sanctions going into place on the Russian oil and gas sector, on Russian oligarchs, and there ain't going to be nothing but air whistling through Nord Stream 2 for a long time if that happens. 25% chance, Kelly, we may be able to work through this diplomatically. That's how I'd score it right now.
Conrad, does that kind of, jive with how you guys see the situation? And what does this mean for energy prices? Does it leave them fundamentally higher than they should be?
Kelly, to your point, I think it is going to be structurally much higher. If you think of countries in Europe, obviously coming from a U.S. perspective, obviously I'll leave it to Admiral to talk about the geopolitics. But I think that's a big blow for Europe, right? In terms of into the winter months, it's obviously timing-wise. You look at whether it's opportunistic or not, seems like it. But for Europe and for massive sanctions like that, it's going to hurt Europe significantly more. In my mind, and obviously will push up oil and gas prices. Especially, you look at Europe is paying almost the highest they're paying for gas at this point. So I think fundamentally, I feel that some of the more independent producers like a Lukoil we own. Kelly, to your point, we're double weight, but keep in mind Russia is only 3%, right?
Sure.
Of MSCI, and we had 6. But I think that's where the opportunity is because they're low-cost producers, and I think it doesn't do anybody good. It's going to be a negative for the global economy, and especially much more for negative to Europe, if you will.
Well, maybe also helps explain why energy is still higher on the year in what's been a terrible market. Have some of these supports as well from that situation. Admiral, not that you're in the business of giving advice to investors here, but is it this afternoon's call? What are the main catalysts or dates on the calendar or main points that we should all be watching to understand which way this thing is going?
Well, first disclosure, I'm actually on the board of Neuberger Berman's mutual fund
That's right.
complex, so I know Conrad quite well, and it's great to see him. But there's no house view on this, but I'll give you 3 things to watch. Number 1 is cyber. Watch for cyber attack as the leading edge of what Putin may or may not decide to do because he may feel there's some deniability in going that route. Number 2, watch Putin's troop movements. If he's adding any more, and in particular, watch for medical support. So far, we haven't seen those field hospitals move forward. That would be a key in my mind that he's about to close the switch. And number 3, watch alliance solidarity. So watch the statements coming out of NATO. Listen to the NATO Secretary General. He's got the best pulse on what's going on around the alliance. It's a very delicate moment. I would say probably a good one to hit pause, take a deep breath, and hope diplomacy prevails here.